And, in our Olympic warm-up, we rolled we almost lost to South Sudan. Yesterday we rolled. Tatum started and played 17 minutes after getting DNP'd against Serbia. After the game, he said this: "The competitor in you wants to play, obviously, but I'm not here to make a story about myself. You win a championship, get a new contract, NBA 2K25 cover, Sports Illustrated, bro." So after all of this, it's definitely a humbling experience. Okay. How should Tatum feel?
Confused. What a totally bizarre 2 months, man. Let me put it to you like this. 2 months ago, little over 2 months ago, before game 1 of the finals, if you asked 100 basketball fans, who's better, Jason Tatum or Kevin Durant? I think Tatum wins that by a decent margin. If you ask those same 100, who's better, Jason Tatum or LeBron James? I think Tatum wins that. I do. All NBA voting, I understand that's not just it. If you ask those same 100 people that today, and by the way, in the meantime, his team has won a championship. He's been selected to the Olympic team over, by the way, his second best or co-star teammate. Hey, guys, who's better, Jason Tatum or Kevin Durant? I think he's lost votes. Who's better, Jason Tatum or LeBron James? I think he's lost votes. I think that right now, that some of that's recency bias. I understand. I get that. But it is bizarre for a guy to check off the only box he hadn't checked, become a champion, and then be put on, seemingly, be a going to be featured member of what was being discussed as maybe the most talented collection of basketball players ever, and have it hurt him in the overall standing in basketball fans' eyes of the hierarchy of the league. So it might be as simple as, for some reason, his jump shots lost him over the last few months, which is weird. He shot 28% from 3 in the playoffs. He has not made a jumper in the Olympics. He's 0 for 11, including the exhibition series. It is a small sample, but still. But it is a bizarre spot, Brou, for him to find himself.
Look, that's a perspective.
Yeah.
I have a different one. I actually think Jason Tatum should feel great.
Wow.
Because you are fortunate when you win a championship and for the next season you still will have a chip on your shoulder.
Oh, that's a good one.
You're fortunate because you avoid complacency. I remember talking to Golden State, some of the players on the Warriors when they won in 2015, and their battle over that next season was, we got to play these 82 games just to get back to where we want to be. So complacency is real. We've seen it with the NBA, these teams unable to win back-to-back championships. Jason Tatum's going to be motivated. He's got and it's similar to the Chiefs. They got so many reasons to be motivated, even though they're the 2-time defending champs. So I like that if I'm Jason Tatum. I also think, Nick, there are 2 ways you can look at Jason Tatum's last several months. You can take the negative, skeptical view, or you can take the positive, optimistic view. I feel like the positive view, in that he's won a championship, because, he and all the accolades he mentioned, right, that he got. I'm looking at it like, I'm not holding it against him that he didn't win Finals MVP. I mean, he did. It was a 5-4 vote. It was close. He did lead them in points, rebounds, and assists. He was the guy that closed out Dallas. Jaylen Brown was 6 for 22 or something.
But he didn't play great.
But he was arguably the MVP in my view. I know you guys totally disagree. Some people have my view.
The fact that it was 5-4 means it was right. Sure. People thought.
And you guys know I have the historical perspective. Like, was Larry Bird, was it a bad summer for him when he won his first championship, but had 2 8-point games? And Cornbread Maxwell, with all due respect, was a really good player, but he was the Finals MVP. I also think, Nick, I think this is a narrative about Tatum, and it's not just you, it's out there, that he's, oh my gosh, he's falling down. I don't think he's falling down. He won his first championship. Steph didn't win Finals MVP for 3 championships. I didn't feel bad for Steph. He wasn't as scrutinized as Tatum is. I think this is the equivalent of when Kareem and Magic won their first championship together, and Kareem was hurt, so sat out Game 6. Magic was great in Game 6, won Finals MVP. They go out the next year, Kareem's outplayed by Moses Malone. They get beat in the first round. The next year, Lakers win it again, and guess who's Finals MVP? Magic Johnson. So this, to me, the looking at Tatum side-eyed is like looking at Kareem in that situation. Kareem's won his two more titles, but Magic's the MVP.
Hold on,
It's Magic's team now. How's it different?
Because again, I'm not trying to relitigate the 1980 NBA Finals, but you can verify
you
for
get
the audience.
what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying, but Kareem was excellent when he was healthy and then got hurt, and that's why
they
Magic
won without him.
I understand that, but a couple months later, Kareem was not benched by the Olympic team.
It's the Olympic team.
Right.
He's behind legend.
Yeah.
That's how,
But he's the
he's
guy.
behind Kevin Durant and LeBron James.
He's also
who are
behind
absolute
Devin
legends.
Booker. He's also behind Devin Booker.
Well, technically, he's better than Booker. Would you agree with that?
Well, Booker's playing more.
He's better than Derek White. He's better than Drew Holiday.
Derek White is fine, but Booker's playing his spot.
It's not an indictment on how good you are. Honestly, it can't be.
I don't think Steve Kerr thinks he's better than Devin Booker. I think it's pretty
Is
clear.
Bam Adebayo better than Joel Embiid?
For this team,
he's
certainly.
looked better. Okay, for this team.
Yeah.
But that's what
I think this has been bad for Embiid,
I don't think we
too.
make big statements off the Olympics.
I think.
Nobody's saying
ask you
Carmelo Anthony's the greatest scorer ever because he's led
but
the
it
Olympics.
certainly helps him. It
Yeah.
helps his
Helps his
legend.
case.
It's a little something,
All right, how about this? I felt like Tatum had a shot. Like you could go to a bar and make an argument that Tatum deserved to be in the best player in the
alive.
world conversation. Yes. He had a shot at it. 3 times.
Best American in the world. He had in that.
No, but
really
Wild
think
is
he was
saying
in the
best
best
player.
player?
But let him make
He has a chance. If you're a 3-time Finals MVP, you've got all.
Hold on, 3-time
first
All-NBA.
team All-NBA. You make it. You finally get back to the finals. You win it. You're on the cover of NBA.
Your
to get
team
all
won
this stuff
64
matters.
games.
Yeah, the point differential, all of it. You should be like, you know what? He's the best player on the best team. That he deserves a seat at the best player in the world dinner table. But you would never, in a million trillion universes, Serbia would never be like that. You know what? Joker, you're a bad matchup here. Giannis, you're a bad matchup, and we're going to bench you. But Tatum got benched, and it's like, wow, we should discuss this. Nobody was like, it wasn't insane that he got benched.
Embiid just got benched.
Yeah.
Embiid deserves to be benched.
Yeah, and Embiid.
Okay, so
and Embiid,
I agree. Okay.
Embiid's out of that discussion. Now
I
he
agree with
was
that.
for different reasons prior, probably because of the playoff stuff. But if Embiid had come out, this is where I think the Olympics matter. And I know we'll get to Embiid. I'm not trying to step on it. But if you remember, right after the finals, I did the post-finals King of the Hill. And Wild, you threw paper in the air because Tatum had moved. He was on the same line as Jaylen Brown. If we can show this was the post-finals where I had it. I had Tatum and Brown on that 11 through 15 line. Right? If we were to do it right now, well, I did. I can show it to you. What it would look like. Durant, LeBron moved up. Anthony Edwards moved down a tick. Devin Booker moved
Olympics
up.
King of the Hill?
And Embiid, it's a snapshot.
Brunson shouldn't be.
I understand. I knew you were going to say Brunson, but just leave him alone for a moment. Embiid, do we all agree that Anthony Davis has helped his stock these Olympics? That Joel Embiid has hurt himself these Olympics? And right now, this moment, does that Tatum ranking seem more fair than it did 6 weeks
Right now
ago?
it does, yeah.
I'll give you that.
That's-
But here's what I
that's all I'm
just don't
saying.
think you should look at the Olympics and the performances in the Olympics and make determinations for the NBA season. They're playing against woefully under-talented teams. I get it that these teams playing pretty tough, but you look at the rosters. Serbia had one NBA player. I get it, he's the best player in the world, but they still should have got rocked, and they did by us. South Sudan, no NBA players.
I agree. So can I just real quick respond to that? I totally agree that because of that, we should not overreact to great performances in the Olympics. But I think that makes bad performances all the more, what the hell's going on?
It could be fit, though. I think bad performances are more like fit.
Tatum has not seemed comfortable, honestly, dating back to the finals.
Wow.
He hasn't.
He wasn't comfortable in the finals?
I didn't
He
think
didn't
so.
make shots.
Yeah.
He led them in points. He had to be somewhat
I understand, but he led him in points
against a very good
in part
defensive
because
team.
he took so many more shots than anybody else. Like, I don't know. He hasn't looked like he hasn't, to me, in the finals and in the Olympics, he has played far from his best basketball. And that's odd for a guy who keeps winning.
Last thing about Tatum, remember in 2020, he was the second leading scorer on Team USA. In the gold medal game, he had 19 points in a tough game against France.
That would be nice.
So I'm just saying, like,
if we could see that, I think this all gets erased.
He's behind LeBron James and
James
Kevin Durant.
is a little younger than I am.
That's the thing. That's the
LeBron
problem.
still is a great player.
Tatum is better than LeBron.
He's not what
Tatum
he
is supposed
used
to be
to
better
be.
than
Tatum
LeBron.
is supposed to be better than
Well,
LeBron.
come regular season, let's see who's better between Boston and the Lakers and Tatum and LeBron.
I think Boston and the Lakers is clear. Tatum and LeBron, I don't know. I know this.
I don't know. I think Jason Tatum with Anthony Davis would be a very strong duo.
Okay. All right. I mean, I
just don't think we make determinations off 6 games against inferior competition.
What about
and that's still what it is.
What about 7? Embiid got the Tatum treatment against South Sudan, DNP-CD. Here's Kerr on the decision. I don't read social media. Okay. I would hope our guys aren't paying too much attention to that. Can I tell you something? Embiid is. That's a regular season thing where the soap opera can carry the ratings. Here, it's just win a damn gold. I mean, I like that part. Brou, are you surprised Embiid has struggled?
Well, let me say this about him being benched, if that's what we're going to call it. I got to be honest. I think a large part of that benching or him not playing Embiid at all was related to Tatum. Absolutely. Not just to make him feel better, but to give Steve Kerr cover. Steve Kerr took shots. People were ripping Steve Kerr and all that. And this allows Steve Kerr to say, it was never about Tatum. It's all about matchups. Joel Embiid's an MVP, and he didn't play in this game against South Sudan because of matchups. I totally think that's what this was about, or largely, because you can't, I'm sorry, the 40 minutes, you can't get 12 players in is ridiculous. You can get 10, you can get 12 in, especially when we're winning big. So I think that was a big part of it. As far as Embiid, he looks bad. He does look bad.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this. I think this is the beginning of what will be the most scrutinized stretch of his NBA career. Like, I think people are going to be like, man, no more excuses. Because he's gotten, for a guy that's won an MVP and never been past the second round in a down Eastern Conference for the most part. I mean, he's lost to Trae Young and Jalen Brunson, but I'm just saying, like, and so I think he's gotten a pass because he's injured or he's banged up, even if he plays, or James Harden. We're going to put it all on him because we know he disappears sometimes in big games. Or Doc Rivers, we're going to put it on Doc because of his playoff record. Oh, Ben Simmons doesn't like to shoot. And those are legit. But Embiid has gotten a pass. And I think that's over, Nick. I think you got Paul George coming in. Obviously, Tyrese Maxey is ascending. Nick Nurse is a good coach. They added some good role players this summer. Like, no more excuse. I'm not giving him an excuse if he's banged up, playing 80% in the playoffs, because he's always like that.
I totally agree with you. Listen, I have wanted, and I still want, and part of me still believes, just because NBA history tells me, every single player of Joel Embiid's caliber, or even close to it, has had at least one semi-decent playoff run. Has had at least conference. Literally every MVP ever has made at least a conference finals. Every MVP but Embiid, Nash, and Rose have made an NBA finals. Nash came super close 4 times. Rose, came close, and then his knee blew up. So none of it makes sense. But this is another opportunity for Joel Embiid to be dominant in a big spot, and he's going over. He was supposed to be kind of the U.S.'s cheat code. And I don't even mean cheat code metaphorically. It's kind of cheating that he's on the team to begin with. Like he wasn't born in the States. Right. He then was going to play for France, and now we got him. And I'm happy we got him. And I'm not trying to be like jingoistic there, but it was odd to even have him eligible. And then we found out he was eligible. It's like, well, any question about this team, about size and rebounding, all that, he solves it. And now he's been our, at best, third worst player, and at worst, our worst player.
I think he's taking the most L's in this, even more than Tatum.
Yes, I agree, because he's getting more opportunities.
So here's his numbers against Serbia. He got a DNP, obviously, against South Sudan. Yeah. His numbers against Serbia: 11 minutes, 4 points. He had 2 turnovers, 1 silly one, 2 for 5, and then free throws he's not even hitting. So,
yeah, I'm just disappointed, man. He does seem out of shape, and I know that he's been hurt, but that's like a cycle for him.
It's 11 minutes.
He gets hurt, so then he can't get in shape, and then there is not. If you say to a basketball fan, I know we got to move on. Close your eyes and think of the most dominant Joel Embiid moments. Every single one of your top 10 is going to be that game in February. That game there's no playoff games. And now not even like, hey, remember that game against Serbia to start the Olympics when he took it to Joker for 20 minutes? Yeah. That would have been cool.
You know what else is going to be? A jump shot.
Oh,
it's going to be a jump shot. I mean, but Nick, look, he looks out of place. He looks like he's in the way. Because we got 4 great perimeter players with him at all times. And here's the 7-foot, 300-pounder who wants to float around there too. Go inside.
What do you want me to do?
Post up.
No,
they've been trying
to get you to do the dance. Go ahead.
Well, the Olympics are where super teams are born. Here's Brian Windhorst and Tim McMahon on the Excellent Hoops Collective podcast, which I listen to and often watch. What?
Just very interesting, the podcast you'll promote. Don't worry about it. Go ahead.
There's a great What's Right one, too.
Thanks, Brou.
I don't have to get Brian. I don't have to get Tim McMahon lunch every Tuesday. One of the things that people always ask me is, this is Windhorst talking, okay, what super teams are coming out of here? Who's buddying up? Who's whispering at their dinners like, we're going to team up together? Then Tim McMahon says, KD to Minnesota, start it now. And then Windhorst goes, Ant Edwards is trailing Kevin Durant around like a big brother. Your reaction?
Well, I saw that because Wild sent it to 16 people on Instagram, and I was one of them.
It's not a good messaging app.
No, I don't know why you sent it via
I don't know how to copy it.
Okay, that's fine, buddy. And so I saw that, but then I also saw this Anthony Edwards quote about Kevin Durant, about him hoping Durant continues to come off the bench. Quote, I hope that he's coming off the bench. I get to play with him. So I hope Coach keeps bringing him off the bench. I get to pass it to him. He gets to pass it back. That's probably one of the biggest dreams ever. So that's dope. I mean, that is. And so I'm not saying that the trade that I, mentioned and floated on this show months ago after the Suns season ended is a perfect trade. But reuniting Karl Anthony Towns and Devin Booker, the Kentucky guys, and getting a certified champion on a Minnesota team that doesn't have any, when the salaries match, when the Suns would be getting the worst player but has a longer deal and he's younger, and the Timberwolves be going for it right now and clean up their books a bit long term. It does work. Sold. It makes sense. And basketball-wise, I love it.
My only question is, I'm not sure Minnesota's a second apron team.
Yep.
Well over the second. So I don't know that they can make that trade. Their salaries match up, but they have to be all virtually exact.
They have to be virtually exact.
And so you can't aggregate players.
So the trade machine says it can be done if they both add one. If they both add one other player, so then it's 2 for 2.
So two, okay.
And there is a way to do it. I tried this out today.
Yeah, I was okay. Yeah. So look. Obviously, I love that. I love it for both teams. And I think Phoenix is like, look, we're going to try it with Kevin Durant, and I think Minnesota feels the same way with Cat. But mid-season, like if let's say the Timberwolves are slightly less dominant than we expect, and the Suns just look like they're sputtering, 6 seed, whatever. then maybe at the deadline, maybe they would do this. Because for Phoenix, you're right. Karl Anthony Towns and Booker, who played together in Kentucky, match up age-wise, 27, 28. And I tell you what, if they could get Kevin Durant in Minnesota for Karl Anthony Towns, I think they're the favorites. Whether it was now or whether it was in February, they would be the favorites to me.
Are you at all worried about Minnesota just being the 1 seed, coming out, having that great defense? Ant got better. Rudy Gobert, let's say, is still great. Cat gets a little better. And then Minnesota's the 1 seed at the trade deadline. Like, we're good. We don't have to do anything.
Yeah, that's a definite possibility.
Like, let's just run it back, and then we never get to see it.
If it were to happen, I don't think it would be during the year. I think if it were to happen, it would be a year from now when Durant's got 1 year left on his deal. I think it'd be in the summer.
He'll be much older.
A year right. You'd be missing a year of it. But because of that, Wilds, I don't think Minnesota's going to make a massive move.
They were too close.
Unless they weren't. But if they were, let's say they were
we say they were close. I mean, they weren't. I mean, they lost in 5 to the team that lost in 5. You know what I mean? So, like, it does feel they were close, but I just think they'll probably wait. Sorry, I guess we gotta go.
Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams reunion. It's on the board. Take a bulletin board.
Is it though?
Who was in The Sopranos a long time ago, is here with us.
I saw him about a week ago.
It's new to Brou.
I told him. I was like, yo, coach, I saw you.
Aaron Rodgers was asked.
You were excellent, too.
Is he a better actor than you are, bro?
Come on. No, nothing against Coach.
Aaron Rodgers.
I've had lines, actually. I mean,
Come on.
I've had lines in 2
Do the show. Do the show.
You didn't
What
have
was Aaron
lines.
I had lines in Sesame Street.
About playing in the preseason. Here he is.
That's Robert's decision. I've never told him I don't want to play in the preseason. There's a lot of thoughts about whether there's any particular gain from it. We used to play all the time. It was news to me yesterday when he said I wasn't going to play in the first 2. Eric sent me that. Thank you. But we hadn't even had a conversation yet about that. So
I said it's not great.
So here's the problem.
Not great.
I don't take what Aaron says at 100% face value, ever. I think he's lost that right for me, just like word is bond, that's gospel. But I don't know what's worse for the Jets, if he's not being honest or if he is being honest. If he's not being honest, then it's kind of weird and it's kind of putting your coach in a weird spot, and I don't even know what's gained. If he is being honest, it is another instance of the Jets having very poor inter-office, team communication. I think that is fair to say. We now know the Jets this offseason tried to replace without replacing their offensive coordinator, and they were unsuccessful in doing that, but I assume that was not communicated to to Nat Hackett, pardon me. We also know that when Rodgers wasn't going to be at minicamp, the coach knew, but the backup quarterback didn't know.
It was odd.
And now, evidently, Aaron found out about the preseason plans by the PR guy who told him, here's what Roberts said at the press conference. It's not me picking on the Jets, coach, to say these are problems unique to the New York Jets. That of this offseason, we haven't seen any other team deal with this type of consistent communication issues, and I don't know why they're dealing with it.
I don't know why he has to go out of his way to embarrass Salah. You're going out of your way to embarrass the head coach. And here's how the building works, okay? When you walk into the building and go to the locker room, you pass the coach's office. When you go home, you pass the coach's office. When you go to the weight room, you pass the coach's office. Every day of practice, you have a chance to talk to the head coach. If you don't want to talk to the head coach, you can talk to the offensive coordinator. You meet with him every day. Then you meet with your position coach. So you have unlimited opportunities to have those conversations. Okay, and the idea that you found out about whether you're playing or not in the preseason and it's news to you, you could have just as easily said, yeah, we're focusing on practice. This isn't really the time that we start talking about preseason. We'll get to that conversation later. But you have to go out of your way to say, hey, that's news to me. Thanks for letting me know, buddy. I appreciate that. It's a deliberate attempt to embarrass them, and for what gain? Like, what? You don't want distractions. Stop creating distractions. You don't know if you're going to play. Go ask somebody.
Well,
it's just so ridiculous and unnecessary to constantly find a way to create some sort of conflict with the attempt to make the appearance that, oh, I'm just such a good guy. I didn't even realize. Just stop. Stop.
I want to ask you this, Coach. How, because I don't know the protocol of preseason, like, if you were in Salah's shoes, would you have already talked to Rodgers, or is that how teams do it? Like, you're talking to them this early about which preseason games they're going to play in, your star players?
You're talking to your quarterback every single day.
Right, I get you talking
multiple times.
But are you
a day.
telling them, hey, we think we want to play you in the third preseason game?
Well, yeah, if it's going to come up in a press conference, or if I'm thinking about not playing him, yeah, we would probably have that conversation. If I hadn't decided yet, then I hadn't decided yet. But I would not expect my player to go out of the way to try to say, hey, he's a poor communicator. That's what he's saying. He's a terrible communicator. He doesn't tell me what's going to happen. And if I had any question about it as a player, I would just ask any of the 8,000 people I could ask to get the message of the head coach, or just walk in his office and talk to him, or talk to him at lunch, or talk to him the 16,000 times I see him per day. It's such a deliberate way to not so subtly jab the guy, and it's unnecessary.
Well, what I do believe is Rodgers is going to determine whether or not he plays.
Yeah,
I think he'll be the
absolutely.
one
Just
to
like
say,
he
hey,
determines
I do wanna play.
whether or not he comes to mandatory minicap, who the offense coordinator is, who everybody on the staff is. Like, yeah, he is. So you want to know whether you're going to play? Just tell everybody. Are you going to play, Aaron?
Yeah. Coach, pretty good. Got me fired up there. Man.
Just over it.
Okay, well,
over it.
I got another great one for you here. Yeah. All right, so Rodgers receiver reunion. Now get this. A few weeks ago, while he was golfing, Rodgers was asked about Davante Adams, and he hinted that he would be playing with him again soon, okay? Now, yesterday, he was asked about that original interview and clarified what he was actually trying to say. So we're going to play two things. First, it's going to be the golf interview, then it's going to be what he said yesterday. Take a listen to both.
I love Davante. I can't wait to play with him again. Well, I do love Davante for sure. That particular guy was a tad bit irritating, I would say. It was one of those things where it's like when you just like somebody's in you, like asking the same question over and over and over, and I just was trying to just give him something and get rid of him. Yeah. But I think I was talking about golf.
Okay, yeah. All right, I'll ask you. Yeah. Do you believe the Rodgers-Davante reunion could happen? I love that he said it all, just really quick. I love that he said it all, and then and by the way, I was talking about golf. It's like...
So here's the thing. You guys know that I think the Jets should not borrow more from future Jet years for this season. So I don't think acquiring, as great as he is, one of the older receivers in the league, and because I don't think it would be cheap. I don't think you're going to get Davante Adams for a fourth-round pick. I think it's a premium. Would not be a wise move. I do think the Raiders will be holding a fire sale at some point this year. And that was before the curse of Kermit was going to smite them.
Oh.
But they were, if you look at the Raiders' schedule, if I can show it to you real quick, keep in mind the NFL pushed the trade deadline back to right after Week 9. They will be lucky to be 3-6 headed into that bye right before the trade deadline.
That is it.
And so a guy like Davante Adams, to me, I don't think you trade Max Crosby. He's too young and too great, even though he's the best, the guy you get the best return for. So I think Davante is going to be available, Coach. I assume the Jets will call, but I think a lot of teams potentially would call for that player.
Yeah, I get it. It's the media's fault. They misinterpreted what he said. I get it. They're not going to be playing with each other this year, I don't think, because the Jets are 30th in salary cap space. Would they both love to play with each other again? Yeah, of course. Davante doesn't have a great quarterback situation right now. Aaron Rodgers would love to have a receiver like that. Of course, that all makes sense. Why did they stop playing with each other in the first place? Do you remember in 2022 who needed a gigantic contract?
Yeah.
Aaron. When that happened, what happened? No money for Devontae. He gets traded. So you could have played with him there. You know, if you love him so much, maybe you didn't need to take that gigantic contract, that 15th bite of the apple, and get the guy shipped out to the Raiders. But
I mean, look, I don't think
maybe he will.
I don't think they play together before the season, but I do think it's realistic that maybe I agree, the Raiders are going to be horrible, and the Jets should be rolling. I think they'll get out to a hot start. And you bring in Devontae. I disagree with you, Nick, in that if they can get him at the deadline or before the deadline, go get him.
Right.
It's Coach said yesterday, it's Super Bowl or bust.
But if you think they're rolling, it's like let's add
He's a
Devontae
receiver.
even hotter.
Yeah.
Or do you think if they're struggling,
They got to get past Kansas City. They're going to need.
By the way,
All
we
the
were supposed to
receivers
talk
over
about this much longer, but our producer's a Raiders fan.
Yeah,
and
he's
he
like-
wants to talk about
He
the
sure
Raiders.
is, like trying to cut this one short.
Cut us off.
So, the Lakers should be better in the regular season. Wonderful. Yankees still beating up on the Phillies. A grand slam for DJ LeMahieu. 6 RBIs on the day. Yankees sweep the Phillies. They're up 4.5 in the wild card. Crushing. And final wonderful. O's had the bases loaded against the Blue Jays. 20-year-old Jackson Holliday back up from the minor leagues. Grand slam into right field. His first home run of his career. Orioles win. And that's Weird and Wonderful from the National Pastimes Hall of Fame game tonight. Texans-Bears, neither QB will play, but the question is, which QB would you rather start a franchise with, CJ or Caleb? Anybody wants to take it?
Okay, well, you're going to direct it to somebody?
You liked it. I don't
Anyone?
know.
Go ahead.
CJ. Like, it's an easy answer for me. Not that I don't think Caleb will be good, but there's one simple difference. CJ is already proven. CJ has proven that he can play at a super high level in the NFL. And not only has he proven that, he's proven he can win a playoff game against a very good defensive team that had time to prepare for him. He's proven that he can, to use your term, Coach, be a force multiplier. None of his weapons last year, none of his skill position players had ever made a Pro Bowl. And he still led this moribund franchise to the playoffs. So he's already proven that what he can do, and Caleb hasn't. As great as Caleb is, we don't know that he's definitely going to be great.
You take every pro that's shown anything over any rookie.
No, because CJ's proven that he can be a star.
So, but you take Purdy over Stroud.
No, I'm not as over Stroud.
I'm sorry, over Caleb. I misspoke. I'm sorry.
That's not the question.
I get it. But what I'm saying is, if the argument, obviously, Caleb hasn't proven it. Caleb's a rookie, and the season hasn't started.
And we're not talking about somebody that's just proven. He had a nice little cute rookie year. No, this dude was awesome, and some people are thinking he could win MVP. So yeah, I'm going with CJ.
Okay, go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, it's a difficult comparison because CJ does have the benefit of coming in as a rookie with all the pressure, and it's really hard to do as a rookie to do what he did and to do it with the type of team that he did. And when you watched him in college, there was a lot of good plays, but you're cynical because there hadn't been a lot of good Ohio State quarterbacks who'd been productive in the NFL. And so for him to achieve at that level, that's significant. Now, when you watch Caleb on tape, and I went into it with maybe not the most open mind because of how much Nick tried to shove it down our throats with Mahomes Mountain.
But then tape don't lie, does it, Coach?
And then as you watch the tape, there are a significant amount of wow plays. And that's really all you can say because he's moving around the pocket. He's making these really dynamic, special plays. So you look at his ceiling, and you think, if I'm starting an organization, as much as I love what CJ did, you're gonna bet that he has the same trajectory, and that if he does, the ceiling is higher than what CJ.
See, this is very often the exact beats of Coach and my football relationship.
What is that?
I say something in such a bombastic, abrasive manner. Yeah. Coach wants it to be wrong. And then he dives into the data and the tape, and he discovers, unfortunately, against all of his wishes, the tape don't lie. And so, listen, the reason I wasn't trying to put you in a weird spot, Brou, but the points you were making are totally fair, but it almost disqualifies anybody who hasn't played yet. Like that Caleb, because he hasn't, we've seen nothing from him. Having seen nothing from him, and having seen as little as I have from Stroud, these guys would be, if the question were, every player in the league's available, contract and age matters. Draft. Number 1 pick for everyone with a brand v. Patrick Mahomes. For me, 2 and 3 would be these two guys. Because it doesn't mean that either one's better than Josh Allen or Lamar right now, but so much younger, and for the next 4 years and 5 years, so much cheaper that I think that they have massive value. But my answer to this question is Caleb Williams.
Wow.
I think Caleb Williams has a very real chance to be dominant in the NFC and the clear-cut second-best quarterback in the league by the end of his 3rd season. Clear-cut. And I think that everyone right now is playing for second place over the next 5 to 8 years. It doesn't mean second place as far as Super Bowls, but as far as quarterback rankings. And I think you have to have a guy who has those wow attributes. Because we are operating in a world right now of superhero quarterbacks as far as Josh Allen's size, Lamar's speed. Caleb seems mature beyond his years. Like, that's why you've asked, like, can the prototypical pocket passer, you know what I mean, still be dominant in this league? So Stroud would be my 3rd pick of anyone in the league to start a franchise, but Caleb would be my 2nd. So
there's a lot of wow players who have underachieved.
Find one of the lesser-known sports, like that guy who was shooting.
No, by the way, shooting, not a lesser-known sport, sadly, and you're cooked. You got no shot. I thought you were like race walking.
No. First of all, there are a handful of sports that you can do 45 and older, and shooting is one of them. So
some people can.
I'm on the board for that.
Okay.
I'm off the board for the pole vault, obviously.
Yeah, but you're off the board for all of it.
I'm not off the board for shooting.
To win a gold medal?
I'm just saying I'm not off the board.
You're off the board. He's going to get mad.
No, I'm off the board.
You're off the board.
You're a sharpshooter?
I've never done it. I'm just saying. It's a machine.
It ain't easy.
You're being disrespectful.
I agree,
It's
but
not
it's
easy
not
to
the
shoot.
hardest thing in the world.
Keep the show going.
To be accurate, it's
To win a gold medal, I think you're drawing.
I think you're off the board.
Yeah, you're off the board, Wilds. I'm sorry.
I'm off the board in like the
The
deadlift.
fact that you didn't know.
That too.
Today, 3 Chiefs in the NFL top 100, but nowhere else on the list. Does this mean they have a great team or not a great team? I don't know. They won back-to-back Super Bowls. I don't know. Meanwhile, Kittle weighs in on San Francisco being S-Bob. Does he love it or not like it? We discussed, but of course, right now it's time now for the most motivational segment in all of sports. It's also a time where we read some viewer mail and or YouTube comments. Remember, we have a YouTube channel that we're trying to juice the numbers on, so I've been reading comments to get the audience fired up.
They are
See what
into
we got. I also take the comments, I'm not reading all the comments, from the previous week's Bud list.
Oh, okay.
So you don't need to go comment bombing on all the things. Just comment on this video. So this is from the last Bud list. It's real, too. I didn't make this one up.
These are real.
This is from Cole Smith 193. Brou coming up with the Cat's Meow line, and Wild's the Drive for 5 or more. That's about the Patriots coach.
Okay.
Off the top of their heads is genius. These guys just invent catchphrases on a daily basis.
I just happened to invent Cat's Meow.
Nobody's ever heard of that one.
Bro, you always wild spit.
A lot of times you have old-timey quotes that the YouTube audience has never heard of.
It's
No,
new to
Say
they do
things that
think
are,
I made them up.
You know, hundreds of years old. Eli Wood disagrees. The Cat's Meow is a line from the early 20th century. I remember hearing it on Boardwalk Empire.
Brou just watched that.
I just finished that one.
Of course, then Cole Smith fires back. No, Brou and very similar to what we did the other day.
Cole, my man. I like Cole.
There you go. Now the Bud list.
All right. Well, these are kinder, gentler introductions. I like that.
Yeah, they're nicer,
Usually you're ripping me subtly. Cowboy Brou. You know, it's an insult usually. You know, gets me going. All right. Okay. At number 3, Tua.
Oh.
All right, now you got the bag to it. This is what you wanted. You got $212 million despite, it's a fact, being 1-6 last year against playoff teams. Wilds is a fact. But it's not just last year. Look at this. This is Tua's career record against playoff teams, 6-15, 26-25 against the tomato cans. look at the passer rating, though. It's not just that they lose, Coach. It's that his performance plummets. So now Tua, you said it. You said heavy is, I'm paraphrasing, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Because he said it kind of funky,
he
right?
Said, show me the
He
money.
said heavy is the crown.
Yeah.
And now he's the highest employed player in the franchise or employee in the franchise. So they are counting on you to get it done. You got all the weapons that a guy could hope for. My goodness. You got a great offensive play caller, Mike McDaniel. Like, there is no excuse for you not to go out there and get it done. And look, I'm not saying you have to win the Super Bowl, all right? But because your defense we know they're a little bit soft. We talked about that yesterday. They could hurt you. But you know what? If you're going to lose 36 to 32. Lose 35 to 31. 31 to 29. Like the offense should not be the reason you lose. Now, I admit to I'm a bit of a skeptic. I'm not a hater. I'm just a little skeptical.
Fair.
All right, so go out there and prove me wrong. How about that? All right, at number 2, Nick, Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown.
Oh.
Your 2 big receivers. Now, these 2, you guys should wake up every morning and sing "What a Wonderful World" by Louis Armstrong. I mean, you really go to get each other, go to the bathroom, look in the mirror and sing it. What a wonderful world. You are blessed. You had the best quarterback in the league, a quarterback who is dying to throw bombs.
Yeah.
He is dying to throw some bombs, all right? So you 2 got to go out there and get it done. And look, you also have a room of receivers that can't catch. All right, they can't catch, really. The tight end can catch. The room of receivers can't catch. So it's on you two to go out there and get it done. Now, Xavier, we all saw the highlight of you getting, pushed around. You're only 165, 170 pounds. There it is right there. I want you, Xavier, to look at tape of Deshaun Jackson, who was 175?
Yeah.
And Devontae Smith, who's 170. Now, this is press coverage. Coach, he's probably not going, he's going to be in motion, right? They're going to try to get him so he doesn't have to face a lot of press coverage, I would imagine. Press coverage is going to be tough.
Not based on that.
It's going to be tough on him. But watch tape of how they get off of press coverage. And then Hollywood, you're talented. First round pick a few years ago. You played in Baltimore. Lamar, not the most prolific passer. Okay, you wanted to go to Arizona with Kyler Murray. Nothing happened there. You've got one 1,000-yard season in 5 years. This is your opportunity to shine, Marquise. I do believe in you guys because you got the greatest quarterback and you got speed. 4.2 40, so go get it done. I believe in you. All right, at number 1, Brock Purdy.
Wow.
Now, this has absolutely nothing to do with the make-believe, manufactured madness of you throwing interceptions in practice.
Oh, that didn't happen?
That some quarters are trying to drum up into a story, all right? Because we talking about practice. Not a game, practice, all right? I believe you got to go out there and get it done in the games. It's a huge year for you, Brock, for 2 reasons. One, you are undoubtedly an S-Bob team, all right? And one, you could lose some of your weapons. Brandon Ayuk, maybe, he's getting close, reports he might sign, but you might lose Ayuk. You might lose Debo after this season. Who knows? So you want to get it done this year. Also, you've been knocking on the door, at least the Niners, for the better part of 5 years. If you come close again and fail, it could throw the team. We've seen supernatural funks. All right, it could break the team's spirit. So this is really a year you guys got it done. And secondly, the money, the greenbacks, the dead presidents. There a $60 million per year contract long-term waiting for you if you go out there and just play as well as you did last year. I think you can play better. But if you do that, you will get paid. If you struggle, which we never seen you do at this level, but if you do struggle all season, chances are you won't get paid. So there's a lot riding on it for Brock Purdy. Iowa Mafia.
Oh, yeah.
I believe in you,
Excellent.
Brock.
Excellent Bud list.
Brou,
Fantastic.
You're not playing in the preseason. You're ready for the regular season.
Thank you, Coach.
You don't need those rests, and then all the historic cultural references that you're introducing the younger audience. It's inspirational. It's educational. I don't know how it gets any better. I'm going to try to add to it with Caleb Williams. And here's why. And we heard Nick sing his praises all last year. He put him on the Mahomes mountain, which was, ridiculous, but it was there.
But now you agree.
And then we talked about how he's the most ready since Andrew Luck. So all those things coming into this year, but really the pressure's on him because of the other guy we talked about, because of what C.J. Stroud did. Okay, C.J. Stroud comes in, he's a rookie, he takes an organization that's not very good, an offense that's not very good. So take a look at where they were the year before he got there, and look at the jumps that he made in each of these different categories. Now, make sure you look at the rankings from 2022. Now, let's go to where the Bears were last year. Okay, they're significantly better in each one of those categories. So if we introduce Caleb to this mix and we get the same type of jump, we're talking about what should be a top 5 offense. Assuming that he can, assuming that he can have the same effect on his offense that C.J. Stroud had on his offense, we should see a significant and very powerful and explosive offense. And C.J. Stroud has set the bar for you. He's been your Sherpa to climb Mahomes Mountain in a real way.
I like that, Coach. I totally agree. Like, it's not just that Nick and others are, I think, you got a date tonight. But
I have a date
maybe
tonight.
picking him to win the Super Bowl.
Where are you going?
What? I don't want people to show up.
Okay.
But I will. Brou, thank you for remembering. You're right. And those things made me even more optimistic about my date with the Bears go to the Super Bowl take. But I have something to add to the Bud List, Brou, and it pains me to do it. You guys know I am sports media's ombudsman.
Did that?
Did what, Wilds?
Who nominated you or who assigned that to
You win that
you?
award.
It's not an award, it's an obligation. It's really a burden, but someone must do it.
He's the head.
And
Right.
I don't want to have to do this, but I have to put Olympic commentary, most notably surrounding swimming, on the Bud List. The big swimming propaganda must end, because here is the deal. And I say this every 4 years, and now I'm finally have the courage and really the obligation as the ombudsman to bring it to the national stage.
Swimming propaganda.
Yeah, so as a kid, I just knew, like, hey, who's the greatest Olympian ever? It was Mark Spitz. That's Mark Spitz.
Yeah.
I was listening.
And then, thank you, Brou. And then, you ask kids today, who's the greatest Olympian ever? Oh, it's Michael Phelps. Has to be Michael Phelps. And then you're like, wait, why is that? They're like, well, it's medal count. Medal count. Like, look at these medals. Look at it. But then you think about it, you're like, how many medals do you think Usain Bolt would have? It's like, hey, run the 100. Now run the 100 backwards. Now do a skipping 100. Now do a sidestepping 100. And hey, Usain, run the 200. But every 50 meters, change the way you run. We'll give you a gold for that too. Hey, the fact of the matter is this. The greatest Olympian of my life is Usain Bolt. If it's not him, it's Simone Biles. But they're not eligible because big swimming has made it very clear, no. If you don't have the 200 butterfly and a 400 medley and a 100 backstroke, you can't be the greatest ever. But I'm here to tell you, Usain Bolt, by the way, running, not only more important than swimming, bigger competitive field you got to get through. Almost every living person. Meanwhile, about 2/3 of the world doesn't swim at all. So he's fighting with billions of people. If Bolt was told, run the 100 in any way possible, he was faster than everyone, all those things. He only got to run it one time every 4 years for one gold and kicked everybody's ass. So I appreciate swimming. It's a nice little preamble to the big stage of the Olympics, which starts next week, the track and field competition.
Wow.
And so what you're going to hear about greatest Olympians ever, just remember who they really are, and they're people who didn't get to win 7 golds doing slightly different things for the same distance.
Yeah,
Give me a break.
Take the next 4 years to think about
Exactly, right.
That was strong. I love Usain Bolt. I love track and field, particularly the sprints. I don't think you've ever swam before. Swimming is not easy. It is tiring.
I couldn't do any of it.
It wears you out.
But it is
just a 50 meters.
Different distances in running.
Yes, but there's not different. But there's not
But the
different.
strokes are legitimate.
I understand, but there's 4. You can win in swimming. 5 different medals.
Backstroke.
Breaststroke, backstroke. butterfly, and free, and then a medley, which is a combination of all of them. You can win 5 medals for the same distance. Bolt can win 1 medal for the same
He
distance.
can win 2. He can
Right, and I'm saying they don't let you do that in running.
But hold on, just to play devil's advocate, you got the 100 meters. You got the 100-meter hurdles. If he could do it, and he was tall,
Very
he probably
good,
could have
that's
done that. Right, the 4x1.
But they have that in swimming as well. No, in
at least
swimming
3.
they have the relay. The only thing that works is the hurdles. Everything else, there's because they have the relays in swimming as well. But
I wouldn't really be that interested in backwards running. I guess if it were historically, I mean, you see, I'm sure you had players run backwards at times.
Yeah, DB.
I guess it would. Yeah, I guess it would be exciting if we.
How about
if it was,
shuffling? Can we do a shuffle?
That's right. Yeah.
Skipping?
Skipping. I said
Tapioca?
it. Skipping.
Oh,
tapioca?
Skip. What's
That's a football drill.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Go
See,
ahead. Sorry.
coaching island.
Hopping?
Hopping.
Yeah, that triple jump.
Yeah. That's
Triple jump is hopping.
Okay.
All right, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm a little thrown off. Talking about another Olympic sport on the bud list. It's 3-on-3 basketball.
Ah.
Now, you might be asking, how are we doing on 3-on-3 basketball? The answer is not great. The women's team luckily beat Spain today, but we lost to Germany, Azerbaijan, and Australia. The men lost to Serbia, Poland, and Lithuania. Before we move on here, I just want to say Team USA basketball needs to focus on this. And I deal with this myself because my wife's birthday is December 29th, right after Christmas. And we spend all of our focus, my present-given focus, locked in on Christmas. Then all of a sudden, a few days later, uh-oh, this is happening too. And I'm not paying attention to it. And next thing you know, you kind of just get the short end of the stick. Making matters worse, one of the greatest basketball players in the world showed up to support 3-on-3 basketball. It's Kevin Durant. You might be thinking, wow, I got it. Why don't we have the best players in the world play 3-on-3 basketball? Boom, problem solved. Great. Problem is, we already do. According to the FIBA rules, in order to qualify and be able to play 3-on-3, you have to play a lot of like mini tournaments and get points. So if you can zoom in on that, Jimmer Fredette right now is the #1 ranked 3-on-3 basketball player in the world. He's got 991,000 points. Number 6 is Canyon Barry. He's got 800,000 points, and number 11 is Kareem Maddox, who's got 750,000 points. So we actually do have the best players in the world. And they're not really performing that well. So here's the deal. USA Basketball needs to sit down with FIBA and say, hey, this doesn't really work. This ranking system that we're doing here that we can't really read because it's too small, that doesn't really work. We need to either if you didn't make the Olympic team and you want to play, Jaylen Brown, you want a gold medal? This one's sitting here right for you. Tatum's not playing, Embiid's sitting on the bench. You guys can join up. Heck, we got 3 Celtics
Tatum and
on
B,
the team.
Halliburton, that's
Done.
a heck of a We're winning.
Yeah.
Great, gold medal. So, but right now we actually can't do it the way the FIBA has it set up. So it's got to be USA Basketball flexing their muscles to get pros into 3-on-3.
I like that, Wilds, because we should be winning 3-on-3 too.
Of course.
Right? So, I'm with you. What about sending Ice Cube's Big 3 champion?
I don't think they would win.
You don't think they could win?
I don't think they would
Former
win.
NBA players.
I don't think they'd win.
I don't know.
They're right. It's not like Coach and I were talking during the break about if we go 10 years ago, there's 7 or 8 active quarterbacks that had won Super Bowls.
Yep.
You know, Brady obviously won a bunch. Manning was still playing. Rodgers still playing. Eli,
Roethlisberger.
Big Ben, Breeze, all those guys. Right now,
Russ.
and so Russ absolutely in his prime. Right now, the only active quarterback definitively still in his prime that's won a Super Bowl is Patrick. The second closest is Stafford,
Correct.
who I think is excellent, but he's dealt with injuries and is older. And then you have Rodgers at a different phase. Russ, who I'd forgotten about, but he's multiple teams removed. So for Lamar, you can't really just be like, well, he hasn't won a Super Bowl, so because the guys you're competing with haven't either. And when it comes to, if the question were, I want to have a guaranteed excellent regular season, not only is Lamar a definitive top 2 pick, some would argue #1 pick of all quarterbacks for just the regular season. Some would like the win percentage is almost identical to Mahomes. People would argue Mahomes has more talent on offense. You know what I mean? Better, more offensive coach.
Has.
the postseason stuff for Lamar is almost disqualifying for when it comes to this conversation. And so if I can just quickly run through the numbers, and Hubs just roll through them all and we can go. The first one is Lamar, the regular season win percentage. It's the two GOATs and then Lamar. But then you look at the playoffs, Mahomes wins 5 out of 6. Brady wins 3 out of 4. Lamar wins 1 out of 3. And then, the other guys behind him are all above 500. You go to how often in the postseason does Lamar play worse than he does in the regular season? Biggest passer rating drop in NFL in the last 25 years in the NFL. It's Jimmy G and then Lamar. There's also another interesting name on there.
So heck of a
spend
list.
time on it. And then there is this part, Coach, which is the most concerning to me. Lamar's career as a starter. 2 out of 77 times in the regular season, his teams trailed wire to wire. 4 out of 6 times in the playoffs. And every single year he's made the playoffs, his team's fewest points they scored all year were in their playoff loss. Every single year. So I don't know how, if it's a guy that I flatly don't trust in the postseason, how I can say he's the second best quarterback in football, as much as I respect what he's done as a player and appreciate how dominant he is in the regular season.
Look, I do think that second best quarterback in the world is up for grabs. And it's kind of going to be, I think, Lamar, Burrow, Allen, and maybe CJ. I mean, if you think Caleb, we'll see what he does this year, but maybe CJ will move in there. But those four are kind of, I think year to year it might fluctuate. Obviously, Mahomes is going to be number one. That's the certainty. And then you have the second tier of guys. But I do think, Nick, when we're looking at these guys, Lamar, I think you can make just as big of an argument for him as anybody else. Like Burrow, yes, Burrow's been great when healthy, but injuries are such a big part for him. And last year, I get it. I think he was rusty and kind of getting healthy, but he didn't look good until the last few games before he got hurt again. So I think you can make an argument against Burrow. Josh Allen, for all of Lamar's playoff struggles, Allen has had individual moments better than Lamar, but he hasn't even been as far as Lamar. Or hasn't been further than Lamar.
Correct. They've
both
both been to one
the
conference
championship game. So I just think that I can argue for Lamar as hard as I can argue for any other player. And then I think what takes him over the top is the 2 MVPs. That makes him if he retired today, I think he's probably a Hall of Famer because of the 2 MVPs, one of them unanimous. So I think that puts him over the top at number 2.
Yeah, the 2 MVPs at such a young age, the regular season success. Last year, he improved his completion percentage. He improved his total passing yards. I think they were both career highs, and those things are all incredible. And if Lamar can play the style of football that he is best at, he's almost unstoppable. Now, when you don't have the lead and the whole stadium knows that you've got to pass, that's been a weakness where he's got to win throwing the ball consistently without the same threat of the run. And there's a lot of people in Baltimore who get frustrated hearing that, but that's how it's been, and he's worked on it, and he's still working on it, but that's how it is. And we saw that again in the playoffs, right? When they went away from what he does best and what puts the most pressure on the defense, he isn't a top 2 quarterback. When they can do what he does and they stay with it and they're committed to it, yeah, it's a really, he's better than anybody else, in that world, and he puts such a different pressure than most guys. It's being able to consistently pass when the whole world knows you have to pass and do it at a high level. That's where he's had his biggest problems. And last year was so frustrating because it felt like they pushed the game plan away from his strength.
That's right.
Instead of leaning hard into it. And we may not even be having this discussion if they had leaned harder into it.
Well, I don't understand why Lamar is not obviously the silver medalist right now in the quarterback conversation. I think this is the NFL list has it right. I'm not giving Joe Burrow any incomplete credit. Joe Burrow was not on the field. Yes, he lost the Super Bowl. Great,
Right, he
great
didn't win the
job.
Super Bowl.
Great job. Josh Allen and Lamar have gone to the same spot in the playoffs, like you said, except Lamar wins more in the regular season and has 2 MVPs. He's more everything that Josh does to be dynamic. Lamar is more dynamic. Josh is a better thrower, obviously, but Lamar is more dynamic. I feel like it's Mahomes 1, Lamar 2, and
I think that's
it's not
the one
really
thing.
a debate.
I think it's just that obviously quarterback is mainly a passing position, and he's probably not even a top 5 passer. I don't think. I mean,
Here's
just passing.
Right. So here's why I think it is a debate, Wilds, is because someone, I'll use myself as an example, that was not anti-Lamar coming out of college, that I think, 5 years ago when people were talking about Lamar as a quarterback, I might have been considered a Lamar apologist is too strong because we didn't really have to apologize for his MVP season, but I was considered more fan than critic, right? That's my background with Lamar. If you were to tell me right now that sight unseen, we have a playoff game tomorrow, pick quarterbacks, Lamar's not going to be one of the first 5 names I mentioned. He's just not. And I don't think I'm in the minority there. That is, and again, you can.
I mean, that's a fair.
And maybe it's maybe it's not fair. It's just my football evaluation of it because I'm not a quarterback wins guy, but I am a quarterback performance guy. And the stat that I bring up all the time that I will reiterate is 100% of his seasons he's made the playoffs. The fewest points they scored all season were in the playoffs. And for Mahomes, that's happened 1 in 6 playoff years. For Brady, I think it happened 4 in 20. For Peyton, again, these are fuzzy numbers. I think it was 3 out of 16. But for everyone else, it was rare. And for Lamar, it's every time it's happened. And that, to me, is the sample is now close to big enough that it's like, okay, that's just what's going to happen.
So all right, let's just carry it out. I don't think you want to have this take, but you think like Lamar doesn't have the clutch. You don't think Lamar's clutch?
I think that until teams are adequately afraid of him as a passer, he is not going to have postseason success. That's what I think.
And you talk about this all the time, is if the whole world knows you have to pass, can you do it? And can you perform at a high level in that moment? And Lamar has made strides, and it's something he's worked on, but that has been a weakness. And Nick showed you the numbers when they're trailing, and that's when the whole world knows you got to throw the ball. It hasn't been what you would expect it to be from the number 2 quarterback overall.
Yeah, punch out away from winning the game.
Well, they were a punch out away from being down 3. That's what they were. They were down 10 points when that happened. They were a punch out away from being down 3 without the ball against the best quarterback in the world.
How much time was
they
left?
were. The fourth quarter.
Okay.
There were 10 minutes, 12, 13 minutes left.
Okay.
But they were a punch out away from still trailing.
I know, but we act like that game
Well,
was like.
I agree with you. I do think they can win. A lot of Lamar's wins are ugly, even in the regular season. And I do think that he can win. It might be ugly in the playoffs, but I think they clearly could win because they still only lost by a touchdown. With all the issues they had against the Chiefs. You know?
Fair enough. I mean, they scored 10 points in that playoff game.
The Chiefs scored 17. It's not like it's a 35-10 shellacking.
No, but I guess my point is the 10, whether it's 35-10 or 17-10, Lamar's would still be at 10, and that's the concern.
Agree to disagree.
Okay.
Chiefs are going to have 3 players in the top 10, but no players 11 through 100. Teams with the most players in the top 100, San Francisco had 9, Miami has 8, the Jets had 6, and then there's a bunch of teams tied with 5. Nick, do you still think Kansas City has the best roster?
Okay, so Coach, Brou's going to try to pull off a magic trick here.
Okay.
Which is Brou is going to try to talk about the Chiefs roster while excluding one player on the roster, and I'm going to talk about the roster as if it's the roster. So how do I define the best roster? It's very simple. If you can pick any roster to win the Pro Football Championship, which I think is the Super Bowl, and to win a tournament of professional football, you do that with the best roster. So I would say the Chiefs have the best roster. I think it's been evidenced by what they've done the last couple years, and I don't think the roster is gotten worse over the last couple of years. They have one very significant loss in L'Jarius Sneed and significant additions on the offensive side of the ball. Now, 2 through 53, do they have the best roster? No. 1 through 53, definitively yes, as evidenced by the games that are played. And Brou is now going to explain how I'm wrong, but he does think the Chiefs have the best team. They don't have the best roster, but they have the best team.
I think the Chiefs coach have the best player.
Is he on the roster?
They do not have, yes, but they do not have the best roster.
Well,
and this is why I call him. How many guys they have in the top 100? 3?
3.
Yeah.
3 guys.
3 guys in the top 10.
How in the world that is not the best roster? Clearly, and not just because of this poll, but the Niners have the best roster. Like all-around roster. But the Chiefs have a guy that is so dynamic that he makes up for it. Michael Jordan's Bulls, I would argue, did not have the best roster in the league. But they had the best player in the league.
Was he on the roster?
And he carried, yes, but we're talking about a whole roster.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily even talking about 53, but 22. Like, I mean, Coach, I got to hear what you say. I do not believe.
It's not the deepest. It's not the most well-rounded.
San Francisco got arguably probably the best linebacker in the league, the best left tackle in the league, the best running back in the league, a top 5 receiving group in the league, arguably the best tight end in the league because of Kelsey's age.
Sure.
And a quarterback who was 4th in the MVP
If they
last
played
year.
in a game, who do you think would win?
We'll see this year. But it was close. I mean,
Yeah,
I got to hear this.
Nick is right in the sense that the number 1 player on that roster counts 100 times more than everybody else on that roster. And he is so good that is weighted to such an extreme that you would have to choose their roster. And if you were choosing the 2 of them, you're going to choose the guy that performs the way that Patrick Mahomes does over any other roster because it's just weighted differently.
That's a roster.
It's like you have
this player.
You have this
He's on the roster.
You have this gigantic diamond on top of it. And then,
if it were
regardless of what's underneath it, you've got the diamond.
If it were a list of the 100 richest people in the world, but the guy at number 1 had $5 trillion, then whatever group he's in is the richest. And that's what this is.
I'm trying to think of a rap group. Wu-Tang. Okay. Now, who's a group with a better individual rapper, but everybody else not as good? Who you taking them over?
I don't know.
I like that.
You know what I'm saying?
I know, but I like
Bro,
all Wu-Tang's
you probably didn't give me a
No,
chance
I know, but I'm saying who's going to be better than Wu-Tang?
No, but it is okay.
Even if you got a better
guys,
individual rapper.
As long as Mahomes is on the roster, they're going to have the best roster.
Yeah, they've got the best roster.
AD, back to LeBron. Brou, there's a take bubbling that you've kind of kicked. You flirted with it. You took it out to dinner a few times.
Stop using my bit. I don't like that.
The Lakers should be better. True or false?
Oh, obviously. That's why they fired Darvin Ham. Watch the Olympics.
I mean, I think you look at the talent on their roster, they should be better. Yeah. Or were they the
lot better?
8th seed?
Yeah. Yes, they should be better.
Definite.
I mean, they ended up the 7th seed, but I think they were the 8th seed and then won the play-in.
Final word, Steelers camp. Justin Fields got cheap shotted, and we got an old-fashioned brouhaha. Coach,
Donnybrook,
are you saying that do you agree with this? The quarterback got hit, the offensive linemen are doing interviews saying no one's going to hit our guy. Do you like this, or are you still like anti-fighting?
Yeah, I think they watched the Tyreek Hill interview and they figured if they had any chance to go to the Super Bowl, they had to get a fight going. So there you go.
Coach is not a fan.
He is.
Well, I mean,
which is funny because
I
Coach
know you
was a
had
fighter.
there were fights in your.
So someone breaks a hand or hurts somebody. Like, what's the value?
You're gonna put an eye out.
You had some fights on your team, all right?
Yeah, and then they were handled.
Did,
we didn't have
inside
we
in the
didn't have a lot
coach's
of them.
office, you guys were like, that was great.
No, not really. We were not like that. They're like, wow, that was really dumb. Let's not do it again.
That's weird. One of our
That was a kerfuffle, by the way.
I didn't realize. S-Bob fever taking over the country, but George Kittle wants none of it. Take a listen.
I mentioned being in this room last year with Fred Warner, and he told us the expectations were Super Bowl or bust. Is that the same mindset going into the season?
That's not usually my mindset, but that's a Fred thing. But No, my goal is definitely, Super Bowl. And so, I mean, I don't know if it's or bust because, if you said that last year, I'm still playing this year, baby. So, the goal is definitely win it. And but first of all, let's just get through training camp healthy, get a solid team going, and then we'll focus on week 1.
Exactly.
But it's not.
Perfect
Go ahead,
answer.
Brou.
What a good answer.
Common mistake.
Yeah.
Common mistake in taking S. Bob literally.
Yeah.
I mean, no one would be S. Bob. The Chiefs are the Chiefs S. Bob.
I'll let you finish.
No, see, the Chiefs are clearly S. Bob. If they don't win it this year, they're not cutting Patrick Mahomes.
No, but
they're not moving on from Andy
Wait,
Reid.
the Chiefs are S-Bob?
Yeah.
They're not S. Bob.
I don't think they're S. I mean, they won back-to-back.
That means they will be ticked off if they don't
nobody's
win
been
it.
able to do ever.
Everyone is
That'd
at
be
least
incredible.
a touch disappointed if they don't win the Super Bowl.
No.
Your whole
No.
argument.
If the
is-
Carolina Panthers get to the Super Bowl,
They're not S-Bob.
or get to the conference championship, they're going to be upset if they lose.
But your
I mean, I
argument
get it
has
in the
always
moment, yeah,
been
we
that
wanna
in the
win.
moment they're sad. But whether or not this is the point,
Like for the season, you will look back and be like, man,
No, so-
we had a heck of a year.
right,
The future
correct.
is bright.
That is right. I agree with you. Which is why your list of teams that are S-Bob
Is
is
perfect.
way too big. Well, I wasn't here Tuesday, but I had my, I
got
had
them
my
there, 'cause let's go
emissaries.
over 'em.
So, well, no, I have the actual S-Bob list. Don't put it up yet, please.
You
'cause I
can't
did
do
my
that.
own.
Time out.
No,
Do not
I
put it up.
can.
You
I can.
said he couldn't mess with your takes, and you going to take my S-Bob?
Brou, prior to your most recent vacation, if you remember, you did a tears.
It wasn't
and
good.
It was bad, but it
I
was also
purposely
stolen.
left the titles out 'cause I didn't want to
that's
step on your
fine.
toes.
So I owed you one, so I will show you the actual S-Bob list in a moment. First, here is what it means. It means if you make the Super Bowl and lose, or anything short of that, you feel like that season was not a success. So, for instance, if the Buffalo Bills or Baltimore Ravens make the Super Bowl this year and lose, the season was a massive success. They are not S-Bob. They have not been to the
Baltimore's
Super Bowl.
S-Bob.
They have not been to the Super Bowl.
But Harbaugh, the coaches, won a Super Bowl.
A decade plus ago. There are 3 teams in the league that are S-Bob. Show them, please.
No way.
These are the only 3. These are the only 3 teams.
The Bengals?
Yes, because they have already, with this coach and quarterback, lost a Super Bowl. And the reason Philly is not on there is because they ended last year so disastrously that if they were to rebound all the way this year and get to the Super Bowl, they're happy about it. Those are the only 3 teams that anything short of winning the Super Bowl just feels like you came up short.
Quick question. Do you have to win the Super Bowl?
Yes, that's
I'm
what
not
it means.
asking you. I don't ask you. We have nothing to do with it. It's not your thing.
You're up here defining
God.
S-Bob. I'm
He's the
S-Bob.
S-Bob guy.
Thank you,
You gotta be
Rob.
kidding me.
Coach, where you at on it?
Can you answer the question? This
Well, can
segment
I
is
ask-
fun.
Can I ask an S-Bob question?
Yes.
Because I feel like S-Bob also ties into how many resources you put into it. So like the Cowboys.
Resources?
Well, just hear me out. Like the Cowboys last year.
They were S-Bob.
They were S-Bob, but now we're in this next season where they couldn't do anything in free agency.
No, he says
they
they're
got a bunch of guys.
S-Bob, bro.
So when I
But
say,
Coach, Dallas,
when I
let
say
me ask you
bust,
this.
it means you really aren't even in that competition next year because you put all your eggs in that one basket, and now you're
So who would be S-Bob for you? You say the Chiefs aren't S-Bob.
What I'm saying is S-Bob is the next year, do you have the same ability to compete, or did you
Yes,
go
you
all
do.
in with your resources,
do.
trading pick, like the
You're
Jets
making
are
the
on-
same mistake as George Kittle.
Well, that's
it's
why
not
we need,
literal.
That's why we need clarification.
Bust is not literal.
Yes.
Bust does not mean if we don't win it this year, we're rebuilding. We're cutting guys. We're changing coaches.
That's
we're
what I think of a bust.
And but I want to ask you this, because Dallas, if the Los Angeles Lakers are really good, like now, they got LeBron and AD, they're championship or bust.
See, but
And because they're a good team and they're the Lakers aren't excited about anything but a championship. Same with the Yankees and the Cowboys.
But if the Lakers had
The
gone
glamour team in
30
every sport.
years without making a conference finals, we would feel differently.
This owner won championships.
I
And every week he's talking about winning the Super Bowl.
Did you answer Wild's question?
Yeah.
What was the question?
Like if the
Kittle-
Ravens
I
are
said
in New
Kittle to-
Orleans, Are they still? Do you have to win the Super Bowl?
Look, Lamar,
I would think so.
Lamar Jackson, and I get it. If anybody that gets to the Super Bowl and loses is going to be unhappy in that moment. But I do not think, unlike, say, the Panthers, they get to the Super Bowl and lose, all offseason they're going to be like, man, we had a great year. We can't.
Of course.
Lamar's not going to be like that. If the Ravens get to the Super Bowl or Harbaugh, Lamar, any of their players, or Derrick Henry, they're not going to be like, man, wait till next year. They got to get it done now, and they know it.
Any team that reaching the Super Bowl would be the furthest they have ever gotten, but as a collection, cannot be S-Bob. You can't, if you've never been to a Super Bowl, you can't be under the pretenses of we get further than we've ever gotten and the season was a failure. That doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist in sports. Wild degrees.
It would make sense in a logical way.
Yeah,
That's not the way
How's
it is.
Lamar feeling if they lose in the Super Bowl to the Niners?
Horrible.
Like that was the best year I've ever had.
All summer he is upset.
Of course, we know he's upset.
He is not
but
like,
it's
man,
the
the
best
future
year.
is so bright.
For S-Bob.
Oh, yeah, it's not S-Bob. Brew's turning S-Bob into S-Bo. Super Bowl or unhappy. That's not what it is.
It's part of it, though.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Super Bowl.
How you
unhappy?
feel like again, you guys understand where I'm coming from.
No, we don't.
There are teams that if they lose in the Super Bowl, they're going to be all off season, man. Our future is bright.
Right.
Baltimore
Like
is
Buffalo
not thinking that
and
way if they
Baltimore.
get to the Super
If
Bowl.
Baltimore
Buffalo
or
will because all the players they lost.
If Baltimore,
But
if
why
they
did they
get,
lose
if the
them?
AFC Championship
Money.
game is
Loss.
a rematch,
Yeah.
and they beat Patrick Mahomes and get to the Super Bowl,
And then
in the
lose to
Super
a
Bowl,
team that's worse than the Chiefs?
They will feel like this was a massive step in the
way.
right direction.
No. Tell that to Derrick Henry and John Harbaugh.
Yeah, tell
I
that
bet
to
you
them.
they
Who feel
would
that
be
way?
like, no.
You don't think?
If we interviewed
Get out
Derrick
of my
Henry
Yeah.
after they lose the Super Bowl,
How old is he?
you think he's going to be
31?
thrilled? He thinks
How old is Derrick Henry?
Yeah.
What? 31 sounds right. 30.
You think? He don't
He's
have
gonna be
that much
happy?
time left. He's got to
Popping those
win it
things
now.
that we
So
have.
now, so like how old's Devontae Adams? So if the Raiders get to the Super Bowl and lose, they're S-Bob because Devontae Adams is going to be pissed.
They're not getting to the Super Bowl.
That's
No chance.
They're not S-Bob. That's why they're
That's
not
right. They're
S-Bob.
not S-Bob. See? I got him.
Yeah,
we might have the dumb
I-
show.
I still don't know whether you have to win the Super Bowl or not. Do you have bad news for you? Got a new cover star, Walking Boot Weekly. It's Justin Herbert. The Chargers announcing he has plantar fascia, 2 weeks in a walking boot. He should be ready. This is the good news to start the season. But he's not going to be on the practice field with his new coach. We expect Easton Stick, show fave from a long time ago, to be taking first team reps. Nick, your reaction?
Listen, while I at times on this show can somewhat pretend well to be a lawyer and a doctor, the foot I'm not that familiar with that, to be honest with you. I did a little research when Chris Stapps dealt with his thing. Remember, it was the seat belt for the tendons, and I felt very confident he wasn't going to be able to play.
And then
plantar fasciitis.
Remember he played and played awesome.
Yeah, no, I was actually right about that.
You thought he was going to play?
No. He played awesome before he suffered that injury. Then he came back and barely ever played at all. Actually, it's your team. You should know the result of the finals, my friend. But regardless, this is, for Herbert, a massive bummer. And I know that sounds banal, but for a guy who last year played through injury,
Yeah, he's tough.
and I think it